Have you ever had that experience? You're home alone, maybe feeling completely overwhelmed, tears welling up, or that tight feeling of panic in your chest,
Hmm.
and then the moment someone walks in or the phone rings, bam, it's like a switch flips.
Oh, absolutely. Suddenly you're wearing this perfectly crafted mask that just beams, I'm fine.
Totally fine, nothing to see here.
Exactly. And it's more than just, putting on a brave face. It can feel like a total emotional deep fake sometimes.
Yeah.
You're projecting this calm exterior while inside, well, it might be chaos.
Yeah.
But the crucial thing to grasp right from the start is that this kind of high-level emotional suppression, it's rarely a conscious choice you're making in the moment.
Well, it feels automatic.
It often is. For so many people, it's actually an inherited reflex, almost like an invisible script passed down through generations.
An invisible script.
Right.
I like that. And that's exactly what we're diving into today, isn't it? Unpacking that hidden script.
That's the plan. We've looked at a lot of thinking on this, some really deep psychological work, trying to understand these ingrained patterns.
So our mission really is to gently uncover why. Why do so many of us feel this compulsion to just bottle everything up, sometimes until we feel like we're going to explode?
And we want to approach this with awareness, no shame, no judgment, because let's face it, in many cultures, especially maybe more collectivist ones, where the group harmony is sort of prized above everything, well, emotional suppression isn't just normal, it's often expected.
Yeah, being vulnerable is seen as weakness, right?
Absolutely. It can feel dangerous even. Expressing deep sadness or fear or even need. It feels like you're breaking the rules, like you're suddenly going off script.
And risking being pushed out, maybe.
That's the underlying fear, yeah. Social isolation.
Framing it as an inherited reflex feels incredibly powerful. It shifts the focus away from blaming yourself.
It really does.
It helps you realize, okay, these habits, they might not be some fundamental flaw in me. It's something passed down, something my ancestors, maybe my parents or grandparents, learned to do just to survive really tough times.
Exactly. Survival. But the question for us now is whether that same reflex is still serving you today, or is it actually holding you back from, truly thriving?
That leads us right into this idea of the invisible inheritance, the generational wiring.
Right. This idea that if you struggle with expressing your feelings, you're very likely navigating a kind of psychological blueprint, one that was laid down long before you were even born.
Wow.
Yeah, experts describe this deep cycle. Children who maybe experienced emotional neglect or just environments where feelings weren't safe. They grew into adults who suppressed their own feelings.
And then, without even meaning to.
Exactly. Unknowingly, they taught their kids the same thing through how they acted, what was allowed, what wasn't. It's the environment they created.
So it's like a blueprint for silence passed down.
That's a great way to put it. And when you connect it back to the historical context, it makes this painful kind of sense, doesn't it?
It really does. You think about previous generations.
Yeah.
Families shaped by, huge upheavals like wars or grinding poverty, forced migration, just profound hardship.
In those kinds of survival-focused environments, there just wasn't any space for big feelings. No emotional bandwidth, no safety net for vulnerability.
Their focus had to be elsewhere.
Absolutely. On physical survival, keeping a roof overhead, food on the table, keeping the family unit together, maintaining social ties, emotions that were often seen as, unproductive, distraction.
Or even dangerous. Liability.
In some cases, literal liabilities, yes.
Yeah.
Things that could compromise the family's standing or safety. And that heavy legacy. It doesn't just vanish overnight.
You're kidding.
You might be financially secure today, living in relative peace, but your nervous system, it could still be operating on high alert, like it's still back in those times of scarcity.
Wow. So it translates into modern life almost like emotional hoarding or maybe emotional scarcity.
That's a really interesting way to think about it. You become hypervigilant, maybe find it hard to truly rest, struggle to experience a sense of safe abundance. Not just money, but abundance of feeling, of connection.
And the brain learns to manage that scarcity, right?
Precisely. If showing sadness or fear as a kid was met with disapproval, or maybe just silence.
Yeah, the silence can be loud.
It really can. The brain learns. Okay, the safest path here is to just shut down that signal, turn down the volume, which leads directly to what we often call the avoidance reflex.
Okay, let's unpack that reflex. Let's try to map out this emotional landscape a bit.
Sure.
When someone who tends to suppress gets upset, what does that internal conflict actually look like?
Well, the avoidance reflex often shows up as needing to keep busy. constantly.
The perpetual motion machine.
Exactly. You might throw yourself into work, start a million home projects, or just endlessly scroll on your phone. Anything to avoid a quiet moment where a feeling might actually surface.
The goal is distraction. Distract until it goes away. Brush it off.
Move on like nothing happened.
Yeah.
And you rationalize it, right? I don't have time for this. It's not a big deal.
Compared to the alternative,
Yeah.
which feels much harder.
Which is the courageous choice, really, to pause, to actually feel the intensity. Maybe journal about it. Talk to someone safe.
I think maybe the ultimate stress test for this pattern is that simple, classic question from someone who cares about you. Are you okay?
Oh, that's the moment, isn't it? The emotional freeze-up.
Yeah. What do you do?
The options feel incredibly limited, even though they aren't. Usually it's instant deflection.
I'm fine. Quick subject change.
Or maybe a joke, right? Use humor to mask it. The idea of actually sharing honestly feels way too risky.
What's the fear there?
The internal monologue is often something like, if I open up, they'll judge me. Or I'll just burden them. They don't really want to hear this.
That really brings up something important reflecting on the language we heard growing up. How were emotions handled in your own home?
That's such a key question.
Like, was anger okay, maybe even expected sometimes, but sadness was just shut down? Were you told to toughen up?
Or stop being so sensitive.
Yeah. Those phrases, they aren't just words, are they?
Not at all. They become the bedrock. They shape how you handle your own pain, your own complexity as an adult. They kind of program you to feel this deep, internalized guilt whenever a strong emotion comes up.
Like you're doing something wrong just by feeling it.
Exactly. Or that belief that you're somehow too much, too intense, too needy to something. For your family, for your partner, for the world.
And what's really fascinating is how these learned-to-survival strategies seem to cluster into distinct patterns. They're not random.
No, the research suggests they often fall into recognizable archetypes based on what was needed to survive within a particular family system, maybe one that was dysfunctional or just emotionally rigid.
Okay, so let's try to define these archetypes, maybe using some vivid language to capture their internal worlds. Where should we start?
Let's start with the avoider.
Okay, the avoider, defined by distraction, numbing, denial.
That's it. If this resonates with you, you're likely always in motion, perpetually busy work, chores, helping others, scrolling, because actually, sitting with your feelings feels incredibly uncomfortable, maybe even physically overwhelming.
So what's happening inside? Why the avoidance?
What you likely learned, deep down, is that sitting still was dangerous, because the emotions simmering just below the surface felt too big, too messy, or maybe just completely unacceptable to the key adults in your life.
So avoidance became the only safe option.
It became the primary coping mechanism, yeah. You might feel disconnected or emotionally numb sometimes, not because there's something fundamentally wrong with you, but because you successfully learned to prioritize not feeling in order to survive emotionally.
And this can show up as chronic restlessness, right? Always needing the next thing, the next distraction, often leading to burnout.
Absolutely. So for the avoider, the path forward isn't about suddenly becoming an open book. It's much gentler. The first step is just softening that wall a tiny bit. Maybe pausing occasionally and asking yourself gently, non-judgmentally, okay, what am I feeling right now? Underneath all this busyness, what's the core feeling I'm working so hard to avoid?
Just naming it privately?
Just naming it. That's a huge first step.
Okay. What's the next archetype?
Next up, we have the Stonewaller.
Stonewaller. Okay. The traits here are more like irritability, anger, shutting down completely, defensiveness.
Yes, exactly. When things get emotionally intense, the Stonewaller doesn't necessarily run away like the avoider. Instead, they put up this massive, impenetrable wall.
Right. They might snap or push people away.
It's pure, proactive emotional shielding, protecting themselves before they can get hurt.
Now, we call it Stonewaller, which sounds kind of negative, but isn't that wall sometimes a necessary defense? If vulnerability feels like an existential threat.
Oh, it absolutely is a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
And the root is almost always a deep, deep fear of rejection or judgment. They learned early on, probably, that showing softer emotions, fear, sadness, need led to conflict, or being judged, maybe even being taken advantage of.
So they built the walls. Maybe they saw caregivers who were strong, competent, but never ever soft.
That's a common pattern. It sets this really rigid blueprint for how to be in the world. But here's the paradox. Deep down, the Stonewaller usually craves connection desperately.
but the wall prevents it.
Exactly. The risk associated with being truly seen, truly vulnerable, feels profoundly terrifying. The inner monologue might be, if you saw how scared or weak I really feel, you'd leave me.
Wow. So their biggest need connection is blocked by their primary defense, the wall. That's tough.
It's incredibly tough. So trying to dismantle the whole wall at once, that's way too much pressure.
So what's the first step for the Stonewaller?
It's about opening just one small window. They don't need to tear down the whole fortress. Just let one trusted person in, maybe someone who's proven to be non-judgmental, on one small, manageable feeling.
Practicing vulnerability in tiny doses.
Tiny, safe increments. That's the key.
Okay, that makes sense. Who's next?
Next, let's talk about the suppressed one.
The suppressed one. Okay, this sounds different. Internalized guilt. Emotional invisibility.
Yes, this group often feels things very deeply. They might be highly empathetic, really attuned to others' emotions,
Right.
but they actively hold back their own expression. They fight back tears, they minimize their own pain. You'll hear them say things like, oh, it's not that bad, or, crucially, I don't want to burden anyone with this.
The burden narrative, that's powerful.
It really is, and it's often a direct echo of growing up in an environment where their emotions were treated as inconvenient, maybe overly dramatic, or even shameful.
So if you were taught, implicitly or explicitly, that being emotional made you too much,
Then silencing yourself becomes this ingrained self-protective habit, rooted in guilt and the fear of taking up too much space. This pattern might have been absolutely essential for surviving in past generations, think strict cultural norms or tough economic times where everyone just had to fall in line.
it's like the ultimate good soldier pattern, isn't it? Always putting others' comfort first, suffering silently to keep the peace.
Yes, but that silent suffering takes a monumental toll, mentally and physically. The core message that needs to land here is this. Your emotions are not a burden. Feeling deeply does not make you too much.
So if this pattern resonates, what's the first step?
It's actually quite profound. Simply give yourself permission to name the feeling, to acknowledge its existence.
Oh,
Say it out loud, even just whisper it to yourself, or write it down privately in a journal. Just let the feeling be there without judgment, simply because you are feeling it, you exist, therefore your feelings are valid.
letting the feeling exist. Wow, okay. And finally,
Finally, we arrive at the archetype that represents where this journey can lead, the conscious feeler.
okay, this sounds like the goal state. What defines them?
This is someone with robust emotional awareness who actively practices healthy expression. They're the ones who might journal regularly, talk things through with trusted friends or therapists, and importantly, they pause. They pause to check in with themselves. What am I actually feeling right now, and what do I need to process this in a healthy way?
So this isn't about not feeling negative emotions.
Not at all. It's the opposite. It's about being willing to feel all of it, but having the tools and the self-compassion to navigate it. This is the result of effort, of what people often call doing the work.
Showing up for yourself.
Showing up for yourself with honesty and compassion, even when your emotional reality is messy or uncomfortable. They've learned that actually feeling the emotion, even when it hurts, is ultimately less painful and less damaging in the long run than burying it.
And the power in reaching this state,
Mm.
especially thinking about those generational cycles we talked about.
It's incredible when you consciously choose to process your emotions instead of burying them. You're not just healing yourself, you are actively interrupting those deeply entrenched generational patterns.
You're breaking the silence.
You're breaking the silence, and you are literally rewriting the emotional script for your family line, for anyone who comes after you.
That's huge.
That really is the relevance, isn't it? We all pay a price, mentally, physically, relationally, for constantly suppressing our emotions. This whole journey we've been mapping out today, it's fundamentally about learning to process those feelings safely.
It's about giving your adult self the space, the validation, the care that maybe you needed as a child but didn't get.
Exactly.
So when you, listening right now, hear all this, what does this knowledge actually mean for you today?
I think it means acknowledging that you might be trying to do something that many people before you simply couldn't, maybe something they would have wanted you to be able to do.
You have the awareness now, the awareness to see the inherited script and maybe step outside of it.
You're potentially rewriting the narrative of your family line, moving from just emotional survival towards emotional thriving.
Which brings us to maybe a final thought to leave you with, something to carry forward. Emotional suppression.
Mm.
It was never really a weakness, was it? It was a strategy. A deeply ingrained, often necessary survival strategy handed down by people who faced overwhelming circumstances.
History, economics, culture, it all played a role.
But today, for many of us, the landscape is different. You get to choose something new, something radically different.
You have that option.
And that emotional courage, the choice to actually feel, to process honestly, even when it's hard. That's maybe the most profound gift, not just for you, but for everyone whose life you touch, every relationship, every interaction.
It ripples outwards.
It really does. It is the good work.